Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kayfabe with Keaton. Right here beside me, I have gladiator finalist, legendary Ugandan warrior Wesley Nserako.
Let's go. Is that me on? Am I live?
You're on, yeah.
Let's
Thanks so much for
go.
taking the time to come on here.
No worries, man. We've been trying to sort this for what
Yeah,
feels like 3 or 4 months, but
your
we're
time
here.
schedule's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think some people think I wrestle full time, but it feels like a full time schedule. But alongside that, I've got a full time job. I'm an online personal trainer. I'm training for high rocks, training for ultra marathons. Got my own wrestling training, got my own gym training, a little bit of a social life. So it's chaos, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. So, how's your life? How's your life been from when you moved over to England?
Yeah, so I came over at quite a young age. I was about 10, 11 years old. So straight away, I just got stuck in any sports, played rugby league. There was a group of guys who liked wrestling, so I went over. They were showing me their wrestling figures and stuff. That's how I got into wrestling. Um, I just, I'm one of them. I just get stuck in, ask questions later.
And what was your first memory of wrestling?
I think as I say, my brother's older than me, so him and his friends were watching wrestling. I think they probably understood it a bit more. For me, it was all blurred into one: wrestling, gladiators, Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles. It was all just muggled into one. I thought, oh, this is all just the same thing. And then I think my mum went and bought a VHS tape of Texas Tornado, old school wrestling tape, and I just remember watching that on repeat. Um, that's my earliest memory of wrestling, and then obviously then there's the odd thing of Kamala, the Ugandan giant. Like I was watching that, having just come from Uganda, and I'm like, oh, there's a Ugandan on the on the pro wrestling. It looks a bit different to the Ugandans I grew up with, but yeah, it's all muggled into one big entertainment. All the wrestling I remember.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense. First seeing someone from Uganda,
Mm.
Kamala. I mean, sorry, Umaga. What was that? Was he? I suppose your first interest in wrestling, or your first idol in wrestling?
No, I wouldn't say that. It was Kamala. It's Kamala. It's just I just remember it because imagine having never watched wrestling before, um, and now you see it now. You watch wrestling, you'll see someone who is from close to your hometown or has got a similar accent to you or looks like you. Like obviously Kamala, the Ugandan giant, he wasn't even from Uganda. I think he from Mississippi or whatever.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Um, um, so it's just the irony that I, I remember watching wrestling and flicking the channels, and it is Ugandan. You know what I mean? The Ugandan giant, the Ugandan warrior. So it's who knows? That could have been the little switch that flicked in my head, thinking I can do this. Because as a kid, I didn't know. Oh, it's just an American, and he's just hamming it up and playing a Ugandan. But that could have been the switch that made me think I want to do this.
Yeah, well, what do you think was the spark that actually did make you think you want to do this? Was there a certain wrestler apart from Kamala, or was it just Kamala that inspired you?
No, no, there's loads of other wrestlers. When I finally got in, I fully got into wrestling around 96, 97. I came to England in 1996, so then I was fully into it. I had my favourites growing up: D'Lo Brown, Triple H, Booker T, Eddie Guerrero. Later on, I became The Rock, obviously. Um, and I was just talking about this the other day to the guys in the changing rooms. There was a moment I was in Sheffield Arena. I think it was 2005, 2006, but we were trying to look at the timeline. So it was when Drew McIntyre had his old music, when he was Drew Galloway.
Oh
Um,
yeah, Broken Dreams.
Your Broken Dreams, still in my gym playlist. Absolutely love that song.
So do I.
Um, I remember exactly where I was. In fact, if I went to Sheffield Arena now and they set the seats out the same, I bet I could I bet I wouldn't be far from where I was at. 'Cause it's imprinted in my brain. I think on the card, he must have been the closest we had to a hometown hero at the time, which is why I thought it was early to. I have to try and work out the dates. And the pop he got when he came out in Sheffield, because I think he was the only, like I say, he was the only person on the card at the time, I think, who was from the UK. His music hit, and the crowd, I just got goosebumps. And then he walked he's got his nice slow walk, and then he came to the steps, put his hands up, all the lights come on. And I remember when all the lights come on, the crowd went crazy. I just remember thinking, I want to do this. I want to be a pro wrestler. I'd have been like 17.
Seems like Wesley's frozen a bit there. The internet's quite bad over there. I'll wait till he reconnects. But
I
yeah,
think,
oh,
I
he's
think
reconnected. It looks
there.
like you're frozen a wee bit there.
On my back,
Yeah, yeah, you're back.
as I say, let's just say I'm recording in the deep, dark jungle of Uganda at the minute, so the signal might be great. I don't know where you heard me up to, but yeah, you got the picture. Drew McIntyre. I remember that moment. I want to be a pro wrestler.
Yeah, Drew McIntyre is, even when he comes down into the UK, he's always been a legend. Obviously, in UK wrestling, there's no one that's been more achieved than Drew McIntyre. And the pop that I went to Clash at the Castle, and the
Mm.
pop that he got when Broken Dreams came out, the crowd just went wild. Hearing that song, Broken Dreams, it's such a good song as well.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah, and so you were talking there about being inspired by Alexa Kamala and Drew McIntyre. So who were what kind of styles do you think there was a certain wrestler that helped you develop who you are, like your style, or were you just are you more just who you are?
I think initially someone said Mississippi Mauler. That's the one. Mighty Molly. Um, yeah, I think early on, I think it was Triple H. There was something about Triple H when he was in his cerebral assassin phase that I really liked. Um, Everything he did. I think when I got into wrestling, everyone starts the same when they get into wrestling. You think you're going to get in there, you're going to be the biggest, you're going to be the baddest, you're going to be the coolest. So I rocked up to training a young 16, 17-year-old Wesley thinking, I'm going to be the next Triple H. Torn off denim jacket with the torn off sleeves. You get there and you quickly realise there's a lot of people bigger, badder, faster, stronger than you. So I realised I've got to work my way up here. And then you start to get your own identity. I'm inspired by Eddie Guerrero, Booker T, Triple H, and even a little bit of D'Lo Brown in there. So they're people I've heavily watched as a kid. So I think naturally I go towards their kind of style. And then obviously the British wrestling. I absolutely love the British wrestling scene. Obviously I've been coached by the likes of Dave Taylor, Marty Jones, Johnny Sane. So just the little things they've given me and the knowledge that obviously gets sprinkled into my moveset.
Yeah, obviously Johnny Saint and Marty Jones and Dave Taylor, some of the greatest British wrestlers of all time. You know,
Mm.
Marty Jones, 7-time British world champion. Johnny Saint, absolute legend of the ring, the man of a thousand holds. What was the most, I suppose, what was the best piece of advice they've ever given you?
I think just how they really look at it as a sport, and take it seriously when it comes to fitness. I've been to many a seminar where I quickly see mainly young wrestlers, they kind of switch off when it's time to do fitness. They just want to get straight in there and start doing moonsaults or whatever. But I absolutely love the fitness side of it, the sport aspect, and just really nailing the basics. Like, I had an amazing match on Saturday against BT Good, who I think's one of the best in the country. And me and him were just exchanging holds and headlocks, and this was not all planned. We were just in there wrestling, and that it just felt like a competition, and I could feel the vibe in the room that they were like, these guys are just going at it, and that's the part of wrestling I love. obviously there's the entertainment that comes after all that, but that initial, we were just going at it. It felt like a battle. That's the bit that Johnny Saint and Marty have like and Dave Taylor passed on to me.
Yeah,
That realism.
yeah, I definitely agree with you about that. There's some wrestlers who just think the wrestling, obviously, in wrestling, a big side of it is entertainment. But
Mm,
a lot of people think that it's just about entertainment and they would just want comedy wrestling. But also, what wrestling fans want to see is obviously they want to see storylines and entertainment, but they want to see people who can actually wrestle as well. So I completely agree with you on that.
nice.
Um, and we've got a comment coming in here from Wrestling Insider who says, "Sounds like such a buzz. What's your biggest audience?"
Biggest audience in wrestling for me was probably Barnsley Metrodome. It's close to 3,000. I don't know if we got a full count. Um, that was pretty cool because I wasn't really scheduled to be on that show. I think I was just there to be an extra, maybe help out. Um, and then you know what happens in wrestling? The card is subject to change. So I all of a sudden came from maybe being in a tag match, maybe helping out, to doing a promo, a tag match, and being in the main event. So that old school, always bring your gear, always be ready. That was fun. And then, yeah, that was. Do you know what? If I'd have gone straight into that, I probably would have been too nervous. I might have not performed. But I feel like I'm geared up. Having performed at Sheffield Arena now in front of 6,000 people for Gladiators, that was a pretty decent big audience. And then I think the numbers in were like just over 9 million watched the episode. So like seeing those numbers has like given me that added confidence that I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go at any time. Doesn't matter how I've wrestled in after the Gladiators, I wrestled in front of 20 people like a week after. So now I know I can go from 20 to a 9 million TV audience to a 3,000 in the arena. I'm happy with it all.
For a 3,000 arena, where was this for?
That was Megaslam Barnsley Metrodome.
Yeah, and obviously we're talking about gladiators. There are 9 million people watching you. I'm sure you got so much publicity from that, and did promote. I'm sure a lot of promoters wanted to book you on shows after that.
Yeah, the initial. I kind of wish I had recorded it a bit better, maybe had a vlog or someone following me because that 3-4 weeks once the episode had aired was just absolute chaos. Like, I didn't have a day off. I was going straight from work straight to like BBC Radio, straight from BBC Radio to the gym. Like, it got to the point where I just had to go to the gym at 11 p.m., midnight, because it was the only way. I knew that I had to stay in shape because I was like, I've got wrestling, and it's just to help my sanity as well. I was going straight from that, then waking up, and then going to a wrestling booking, maybe some seminars, straight to another booking. Then the BBC would say, "Oh, can you do this radio interview?" So it's just for 4 weeks, and then obviously I was just in Asda, just going doing my daily shop, and then I'd have kids coming up to me saying, "Are you Wesley?" Because I was in the limelight at the time. It's calmed down a lot now, thankfully. But that 3-4 weeks, I was like, I wish that someone had recorded that because it was just absolute madness. I couldn't even reply to messages anymore. It got to the point where I turned all my notifications off because I probably missed quite a few bookings because of it. But obviously, with social media, the good and the bad. You had the people who were a little jealous, maybe, or maybe they thought I got there on luck. But people don't know all the hard work I put in to lead up to that moment. So I just turned it off, turned all notifications off, and just thought, let me just enjoy this moment for 3-4 months, 3-4 weeks.
Well, I first discovered who you were obviously on gladiators. I
Mm.
mean, like most people did, and you done amazingly in it. Obviously, with the speed, your technique was amazing. How did you first get the opportunity to come on the gladiators? How did it all start?
I applied to be a gladiator because I thought I want obviously pro wrestling. I thought if I applied to be a gladiator, being on the gladiators would be amazing for the wrestling career. Um, they had already decided, I think, who they wanted, and then last minute I got the phone calls thinking I think they liked the look of my profile. They'd already got the gladiators decided. There was like, would you mind coming down to apply to be a contender? Now, if the weekend they gave me, if they'd have asked me any other weekend, I wouldn't have been able to do it because of wrestling. But I'd actually booked that weekend off because I was just about to go on holiday, so to Malaysia, and I was flying from Manchester Airport, and the tryout was in Manchester. So everything just lined up perfectly, so I was able to do it. I was pretty beat up because I was at the time I was training for an ultra marathon in the Yorkshire Free Peaks, so I'd hurt my ankle training for that. So I had a week basically to try and get my ankle sorted for this tryout and to go on holiday to Malaysia. Did the tryout. Let's just say I did pretty good. My fitness held up. They liked my look. I think they liked my attitude mainly because I don't take anything too serious. I just enjoy everything. And then while I was on holiday, I got the message that they like the look of me. Can I come down to Sheffield Arena? And the rest you saw play out.
What was your emotions when you got that call?
There was part of me which I feel like you need in pro wrestling. There was a part of me which is like about time. Like the amount of tryouts I've done for wrestling companies, the amount of effort I've put in. Like when people say look, I don't think people realize like I've been doing this for 12, 13 years and wrestling doesn't pay enough for me to have a mortgage. So I've done sacrifices. I've missed weddings. I've missed funerals. I've missed all sorts for wrestling, and it's kind of like finally, if something comes of this, all that time I've put in would be worth it. So I was over the moon, and then the other 50% of me was like, "Oh no, what happens if I make a fool of myself on national TV? Is this me over?" Everyone's like, "This guy's just pretend. He's been playing pro wrestler for 10 years, and he's not even athletic enough to get through gladiators." But luckily, the proof was in the pudding. I showed people what I'm about.
And obviously, that came out not to be true. Obviously, with your athleticism in it and your speed and everything while you were doing it. So, what was your toughest, I suppose, obstacle? What was your toughest obstacle in gladiators to overcome?
Do you know what as I say, that's probably my strong point. I'm a bit of a hybrid. I loved absolutely every single event. The toughest thing for me was just managing the day with just little niggles and injuries I had from running, from pro wrestling. Like I went in there pretty beat up. So it was just, my job was just to manage my body and get through the whole day, a long day. So it's probably like the eliminator at the end. You, you you just try and conjure up all your energy just to perform on that last bit. So if anything, I'd say individually that eliminator, I'd fly through that. If you asked me to do it now, I'd love it. I'd fly through it. I'd probably knock quite a few seconds off my time. But doing it at the end of a long day with adrenaline and mental fatigue, that was probably the toughest bit. And I think it's no surprise that myself in pro wrestling, having mentally tough with the pro wrestling schedule and the eventual winner, who was a military guy. I think it's no surprise that me and him were the two who were mentally tough enough to get through that and perform in the final.
And who was your favorite guy backstage?
Gladiators wise,
Yeah,
I they were all. I bonded with quite a few of them. I think again because of my attitude, I wasn't there to try and embarrass them, or I was just there to have a good. The entertainment side of it for me was more important than making myself look good or making someone else look bad. Nitro, Phantom, and Giant had cool things to. Do you know what? They all said cool things to me. Bionic said cool things to me. Me and Viper had a bit of a rivalry. Um, Even the girl side, Fury was amazing to be around. Um, they're all a cool bunch, man. Even the contenders, We've developed a really good relationship. I'm gonna go train. I train with quite a few of the contenders here, time to time. Well, I've got a few things planned. So all in all, amazing experience. It inspired me to keep pushing and not give up on any crazy dreams I've got.
Like you were talking there about how you've been wrestling for over 13 years, and the moment finally came when you were able to get on the Gladiators. How'd that feel to know that your hard work has finally paid off?
Um, it felt amazing. It all hit me. I didn't have time to really register what was going on while I was there training, while I was there meeting the staff, because it was just all a bit of a whirlwind. It was the semi final just before I went out for the eliminator. I don't cry often. I don't. I kind of happy. I just crack on. It was happy tears, but just before the semi final, um, I think the realization that like I was pretty beat up. I was like, I don't think I'm going to win this eliminator. But then the realization that I was like, I've been in 2 episodes of Gladiators, so that's like some decent airtime I've got. Maybe someone who's a wrestling fan is going to hear of me now, and I think all the family were basically saying, "Well done." All the producers were saying, "Well done. You've done so well. You've been entertaining." It all hit me then that like I'm content with what I've done now. I've shown face, I've performed, because there's always the pressure that you're going to go on a TV show or something like that and make a fool of yourself. You're going to look like an idiot. And I thought, I'm so glad I've managed to come on here, be myself. Maybe there's a couple of promoters. I was hoping, the WWE or something was watching. That's why I kept throwing out all my Booker T celebrations, but I must have not shouted loud enough. I teared up a bit before the eliminator. The emotions definitely got to me, and luckily I was able to just hold on to those emotions and get through that last eliminator.
Yeah, well, obviously, coming from England, and sorry, when you went in England when you were 11, you must have been very proud to be from Uganda. When you how did you develop the character when you were on English promotions, the Ugandan warrior?
Someone just saw my. I think someone saw my driver's license, and my driver's license says Kampala on it. And then someone says, "Why have you got Kampala?" I was like, "Oh, that's where I was born." And so people are like, "You were born in Uganda, and you're a pro wrestler, and you're not using this as your gimmick." And then in hindsight, I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty stupid." Like, they used to be the Ugandan giant, the Ugandan warrior. I'm born in Uganda. Why am I not using this, even if it's just a moniker? Or everyone likes to, when you're introduced, everyone likes to have a cool place where they're introduced from. I'm from the unknown, from the dark side. It's like, wait a minute, I can say born in Kampala, Uganda. Like, I was like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. My family out there, they absolutely loved it when I like started bringing out the Ugandan flag. And then it was one of my cousins who was like, "Why are you not doing the Ugandan accent, like, or saying a bit of Luganda or speaking some Swahili?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll mess around with that." So I was there doing the Ugandan accent and some utterances. So it was a little bit of me, because that was me behind closed doors. I used to have fun when I was in Uganda, and but it's not. I think now you're seeing more of me because it's just Wesley. Wesley turned up, and I've got my Ugandan heritage, massively proud. My Sheffield, Yorkshire heritage, massively proud. Those together, I'm untouchable, really. When I'm switched on.
Yeah, well, characters like some of the biggest names in WWE, they turn their characters up to 1,000. That's what they all say.
Mm.
You have to turn yourself up to 1,000, and that's your character. So I suppose that if you do, as you're talking, or you were saying about, hopefully WWE saw you. If that would be what would get you in the WWE character like that. Just
Yeah, yeah. Even in my head, there's still some of my Ugandan heritage that I've not tapped into, that I know that I'm saving, thinking there's going to be the right time where the right cameras are on me, or the right moments that I can throw that out, and vice versa. My Yorkshire heritage, That's what I love about pro wrestling. There's so many different ways my character can go, and at the minute I'm just kind of just massively enjoying just experimenting with stuff on the scene and trying stuff out.
Yeah, well, right now we're going to go into our watch along. Screen of Wesley Nserako. You're going to get to see him in action.
Is it? Which one are we watching?
So it's just some of your matches.
Nice.
So my name is Wesley James Nserako Male.
So it's just your.
Born in Zambia, Kampala. Here I'm back. Over in England, I'm a personal trainer. Civil servant.
It was far too loud there, wasn't it?
Civil servant.
Yeah, it's loud.
Professional wrestler.
This was in November, just gone, in Uganda. Absolute madness.
So talk us through what's happening here.
What we got? Oh, is this the Edge with Matt Morsi, a legend he is a class act, great character from Gladiators. I don't think when it's all the Gladiators were laughing because backstage I'm smiling, I'm fun to be around. As soon as that whistle goes, like something comes over me, and he was so determined to stop me. The little things I could hear him every time I got past him, I was having the time of my life. And they always tell you never to stop because as soon as you stop, they can catch you. But I've kind of proved the theory wrong because if you've got enough strength, you've played the wrong one. I schooled him on the other one.
Oh.
But I forgot. No, I forgot. I got full points on Apollo.
What was that? What would you call it? A tie?
I did pretty good. 10 points. 10 points, pretty good. Who we got here? Saxon Huxley. What a legend.
I know. Such a good wrestler.
This is quite an old match. So, as I say, you can see the size of the dreadlocks.
Did you get that move from Johnny?
He is looking.
It was inspired definitely by the World of Sport days.
That war chest of his.
And a bit of catch can, bit of...
Nice cradle by Nserako.
So this is when I was finally coming into my own. I was a bit Uganda, a bit Wesley. Developing into my own.
It's a real hybrid.
I was kind of finding myself.
Of sort of hard-hitting,
so obviously people only see a
12-15
minute match, but as I say, at this point, there's probably 9 years that have got into this of me being Disco Wes, Ugandan Warrior, and Nserako, all my fitness. Because at this time, I can tell by my body weight that what people don't know is behind closed doors, I was doing endurance challenges. I was doing David Goggins challenges, ultra marathons, 20-mile obstacle races. And I was just doing that for fun. And then when people realised that I was doing that, they're like, why is that not in your character? Showing people that you're an endurance athlete, that you're just built different. I love tough events. And I was like, so now people, I'm trying to advertise that a bit more.
Grand designs of laying that Rise World Championship on the desk of Vince McMahon or Triple H at some point.
What's the most memorable match you've ever had?
Big kick by Nserako. Outmaneuvering Saxon Huxley.
I think I was finally glad that I got to wrestle Rampage Brown recently. Or was that last year? I was happy I got to wrestle Rampage Brown. I've had some memorable matches with Martin Kirby just because we have so much fun in there that I feel confident that I can do anything against him.
Saxon Huxley.
And then the first match I had back after Gladiators, there was one I had, I think, against Brady Phillips. And I think 50, 60, maybe 70% of the crowd was Gladiator fans. So it was just a different vibe. like it didn't feel like a pro wrestling crowd. At times it just felt like a Wesley crowd because they were just Gladiator fans, I could tell, because they all came for the meet and greet after, and that just felt like one of those if Wesley loses we riot moments. It was just so much fun. It's the closest I've got to having like a hometown crowd.
To knock off this tower of a man, the muscle cat Jesus.
I'm sure you got so much publicity from all this as well from Gladiators, because obviously when you're in the meet and greets and all, people just want to move you on the shows because they want to see like a celebrity Gladiator guest. Like,
I think that's been some of my proudest moments. I do a lot of family shows. I do a lot of these shows, and I have parents and kids come up to me who are not wrestling fans. They are Gladiator fans, and then they come in, and then I always ask them, "Are you going to come to more wrestling shows?" And they're like, "Yeah, we've already booked tickets to like local shows and local wrestling shows." And like they always ask me, "Are you on this show?" And I already know I'm not because I've never wrestled for that company. But I'm like, if I've brought over 5-10 people into the pro wrestling world, then that's my job done. Job done. I've brought people in, and they're going to experience. Oh, they're going to get attached to a certain wrestler. They're going to be a wrestler, a local hero. They're going to maybe come to a show, buy merch, buy tickets. That for me, I've done my job. I've done my job there.
Scenic Spots asks, did you have butterfly in your first match? How did you cope with nerves before a show?
Oh, the nerves I had for the first 9-10 years were horrible, to the point where I'm quite a shy guy, really, when I'm being myself behind closed doors. So those first 10 years, I hated it. Those butterflies, the anxiety, to the point where I used to like always check my messages, like hoping that the show had been cancelled just because I couldn't cope. And I was like, this feels terrible. Like, this has got to feel better. And then obviously you go out there and you perform and the match goes well, or at least there's some positive you can take away from the match. And that slowly built into confidence. I got to deal with the anxiety better. On show days, I never used to do anything the day before a show. Like, I just want to be at home thinking about my match, making sure my bag's packed, but now, like, I go to the gym, I go to work, I can go meet people, do things. Like, I'm just so much more relaxed, and still get that little bit of butterfly anxiety before show day, but not as bad as it used to be. And that's just confidence that even if something goes wrong, I can still entertain the crowd. I can still recover. So yeah, it's weird how the first 10 years to the last 3-4 years have been massively different.
That's crazy. So it took you about 9 or 10 years to stop your nerves, to stop the butterflies.
Yeah, I think it's now I've just got the reps, and it gets to the point where I think everyone can relate to this. Like, if you go start a new hobby or a new sport, the fear of making mistakes, the fear of letting the team down, letting the promoter down, letting the fans down. It used to get to me because I hate letting people down. Like, even when I missed the first podcast with you, I felt there was a part of me that I just felt really bad because I was like, I said to him I'll be there at this time, and I've had to let him down. But the only reason I let you down is because if I'd have come to your podcast, I'd have let a promoter down. So like, yeah, so that like gets to me. But now I've just got better at managing my time, managing expectations. So I'm just better at managing all that, really.
Yeah, well, it's much appreciated that you still took the time, and when you have such a busy schedule, you still can come on again. So wouldn't worry about letting me down.
It's just something that's built into me, and I think that's what helps me perform at a high level when I'm in a stressful situation, because I kind of put myself second and just make sure I'm putting in performances for the crowd, for the promoter, for anyone who's trusted in me.
And that's what pro wrestling needs as well. Someone who will always be reliable and be there for shows and everything.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does, to the sacrifice of our own mental health and physical health. You kind of need that bit inside you.
Yeah.
And luckily, I've been able to, like here, wrestling on the mud in Uganda. I had to. No give whatsoever. But do you know what? When all those locals turned up and they saw me they were like, "Oh, there's a European wrestler here." I'd not took my wrestling gear because my plan was not to wrestle. I was like, I'll entertain and maybe I'll do a promo or I'll do a spot. And then when I met the crew and I met this guy and I was like, oh, okay, I can wrestle. Originally it was just a 5-minute match and then we just went in there and wrestled away. I don't know how long we did in the end, 10, 15 minutes. And as you can see, one thing about me, you just look at my face, I'm having the time of my life.
And who was this guy you were facing?
Hamis Diamond. I said to the guy, give me your biggest guy. So they put me in with Hamis. He's a bit of a beast. When he told me when I looked into him and stuff, and I was like, wait a minute, this guy's moveset is basically Brock Lesnar. Why do I want to wrestle him on the mud? Is what it is. Obviously added in, got a bit of entertainment in there for the crew. I don't know if you can't know if you can see. I've got quite a decent scar on my forehead.
Right.
It's kind of gone a little. That's from this match. From the F5 I took in this match. He hit a second F5 on me and it was all head first. And that caused a bit of a scar. Messed up my good looks, but all for the love of the game.
Well, wrestlers from the olden days complain about how their rings had no give. Can you imagine wrestling on this? This just looks terrible.
Yeah, it's this. I don't think there's many. See, I didn't even want to hit. I hit like a few safety moves, I would call them, because I was feeling those bumps and I was like, these are horrible. But good times. And I was pretty fatigued because just before this match, I'd done a training session with all the team, showed them some World of Sports spots, showed them some ways they can kind of save their bodies a bit more, and they were doing a few things that were a bit risky. So we'd done a 4-hour training session in the Ugandan heat, close to the equator. I forgot to take any food. So I just had a bit of water. So I was fatigued, hungry. But you know what? That's when I thrive. When I was sat there thinking, is there any other people who go into this as battered as I am? But I enjoyed it. And now I look back on it, I'm smiling. What a day.
I haven't seen anything like this before. Is this like a proper wrestling company that they just wrestle on mud?
Oh, if you've never heard of soft ground wrestling, they're going pretty viral right now. They get thousands of views on YouTube.
Oh, is this a place where the Maximum Male models came?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I know what it is now.
Yeah, soft ground wrestling. I'd say, as I said in one of the promos when I went out there, this is probably, when it comes to social media, probably one of the most famous wrestling rings at the minute over the last couple of years. And the irony there as well, again, that I'm a Ugandan. I was born maybe 15, 20 miles away from this location. I had to wrestle there when I got there.
Has that always been like a goal for you?
I've always wanted. My personal training business is called Buziga Fitness, and that is because that is where my house is in Uganda at the minute. So obviously that's paying homage to my heritage, Buziga. And my dream is to open a gym or a wrestling school or a football school or something along those lines in Uganda. So the fact that this is already in place, I was able to go out there and coach and pass on some advice. That just filled my heart with pride. because a retirement goal for mine is still to open a gym of some sort close to where I was born. And this is just basically knowing that there's guys out there that are already doing this, it's made me one step closer to achieving a dream of mine when I get older. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, and that girl in the outside, is she a manager?
Yeah, she actually just... I'll give her a shout out. She just messaged me on Instagram. I just saw it pop up while we were talking. The irony. Dead. I need to stop saying the word irony. But Kurtzray Novel, she's the manager. She just messaged me saying, "Long time. How are you?" Good bond. I gave
on the screen here.
I gave some great advice. First language. She's pretty good. So she does all. She's the advocate for Hamis Diamond, and plays the role really well. Great thing about the internet is these guys have studied, they do their homework, they watch all the pay-per-views, they watch all the promos, they ask advice to people like me and other wrestlers, what can they watch, what should they watch, so we're sending them matches, watch this, see how the story develops. These people are putting on entertainment for free for all the local village. Hopefully they're making a bit of money with their online media presence. But the passion these have for pro wrestling is amazing to see, And the training, hardest training I've ever seen. I've been to some hardcore seminars. I've done a WWE tryout. I was more blown up doing 2.5 hours with these guys. And I'd like to say I like my fitness. But even me I think about the 3-hour mark, I tapped out. I didn't do the last hour because of the heat and knowing that we had a lot. I think we got there midday, and I knew I was going to be there till midnight. So I was like, let me save myself a little.
So I suppose he's kind of like the Brock Lesnar, and she's like the Paul Heyman.
Exactly that. They've copied that and made it into their own. She's really good on the mic. There's a promo that you'll see where I hit my head and got the little scar.
Oh, is this the thing you're talking about?
Yeah. That F5 was just all my head into them, and obviously mud. It's got stones and all sorts in there, so that's the most realistic F5 you're ever gonna see. Because I definitely felt that. I didn't want to kick out. But yeah, that was fun, and me and the manager, we ad-libbed for a bit before and after the match. And that was lots of fun. And Nserako obviously is my Ugandan given name, if anyone's wondering. And Nserako, so the heritage is there.
So that's where you got the name?
Yeah. Ugandan Warrior and Nserako was initially my name. That's what I wanted to develop into. And then obviously I was on Gladiators. Everyone knew me as Wesley. I just realised it was stupid if I don't use Wesley as well. So that's where Wesley and Nserako, as you can say, that's where I'm coming into my own. And that is Wesley, the Yorkshire Wes, and Nserako, the Ugandan. It's just the perfect meld of who I am.
Yeah, and you can tell you're very confident and very understanding of your gimmick now. Was it this hard? Was it hard? Did it take you loads of years to find your gimmick?
100%. As I say, I've always been shy, never been the most confident guy in the room, but I always had faith in my athletic ability. So when I was part of a football team or a rugby team, I didn't need to be the loudest. I just had to show up and perform. And then wrestling kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit. University brought me out of my shell. And then just entertaining my circle of friends with my love of comedy, like films that I like to watch. Like I'm a massive fan of like Bad Boys, Rush Hour, Monty Python's, stuff like that. So and that kind of made me realise To be honest, yeah, when I came into wrestling, I thought, I'm never, ever, ever going to be able to do a promo in front of people. I'm never going to be able to do a promo to camera. My WWE tryout, probably that was the only bit that let me down. Even though it was good, I heard good feedback because I did the Ugandan accent. They said that was really entertaining. But I think at the time they were looking for NXT UK wrestlers, not a Ugandan warrior. And now it's got to the point where they'll just give me a mic and say, go out there and set up this match. Off I go. So yeah, I'm enjoying where I'm at. I think I've got a good few years ahead of me of just enjoying this, kind of reaping the rewards for all the hard work I've put in. And
so, I didn't know you went for a WWE tryout or anything. What was the training sessions like? Was it as hard as people say?
It was, yeah, it was tough. As again, I love fitness, so I would happily it all be fitness. It was tough for me because I'd just come off surgery on my knee. I just had my meniscus repaired on my left knee, so about 3 weeks before it, I couldn't do a forward roll because I couldn't tuck my leg. And it's one of those, like, do I be a bit smart here? Do I make an executive decision and tell the WWE, look, my knee's still a bit injured. Would there any chance that I can postpone this tryout? Because I was hoping that they were going to do a few more. But then in my head, I was like, I could ruin my opportunity here. They might put that against me, like, he's injured. Do we really want someone? So the next couple of weeks, I kind of rested because I think I was maybe training a bit too hard, trying to get my fitness back up. So I kind of just took care of myself. And then I remember I booked some private ring time a week before the tryout. Me and Kev Lloyd. I don't know if you'd heard of Kev Lloyd. He's one of the coaches. He used to go as Sexy Kev.
Yeah,
A bit of a gimmick, bit of a comedy wrestler. But now he's one of the most legit wrestlers in the UK. He's the coach at the Snake Pit in Wigan, which has birthed some of the best amateur wrestlers, catch-as-catch-can wrestlers in the country. So you know what I mean? The fact that he used to do comedy, Sexy Kev, and now he's a legit wrestler who would tear up 99% of the wrestlers in the country one-on-one in a shoot fight. Me and him booked some private ring time, and I remember when I did a forward roll, it was the first forward roll I'd done in months, and I got up, I didn't feel any pain, and I was like, oh, perfect. So my mindset of that tryout was just get through it unscathed. Don't randomly have to start limping out. Got through it, got to have a training match, got to wrestle in front of Regal and quite a few legends. Every time I watch I see the same referee on SmackDown, I'm like, I got to wrestle in front of him. That's brilliant. Got to meet, Shane McMahon. Got to meet a few of the people backstage. Got to be a fly on the wall while they're setting up and filming for Raw, SmackDown. I had a list of things I wanted to do in pro wrestling, and I've ticked them all. I wish I'd wrote something else, but one of them was just step foot inside a WWE ring. So I've done that. If I'd have changed it to like have a match on SmackDown Raw, then it'd still be there unticked. But it was quite funny though. Everything I'd wrote, I've done it now. Because I even wrote perform inside Sheffield Arena. And I've done that, but with gladiators. So even if I'd have wrote that differently of putting wrestle at Sheffield Arena, I wouldn't be able to tick that. So it makes me laugh that everything I wrote on that list like 10 years ago, I've done it. But it just so happens it's the way I'd worded things, which means I've done it. I've only got one thing left, which is to wrestle abroad, which you could technically say I've done in Uganda. But I'm not counting that because I want a company to come reach out to me and book me, which I've had 5 or 6 do it, but then things have fallen through, or shows have got cancelled, or lockdown. So I'm still holding on to. I've wrestled in Scotland and Isle of Man and Wales, but I'm not counting that as wrestling abroad just yet. So that's still on the to-do list, to wrestle abroad. North America or Japan would be ideal. So that's the only thing I've got left in wrestling. Then I can ride off into the sunset.
And you were talking there about being in the ring with obviously people spectating you, legends like WWE legendary referees. One of the greatest, in my opinion, British wrestler of all time, William Regal, and then very well known wrestler, obviously with his family, Shane McMahon. What kind of feedback did they give you after it?
I think because there were so many of us, and they even said, sorry, there's so many of you, it's hard for us to give you all individual feedback. That our tryout was a bit of a special one because not only do we have independent wrestlers, we had athletes there as well. So we had kickboxers, rugby players. Was there any social media stars at the time? I can't remember. So there was so many of us that it was hard to get individual feedback. But anytime I could pick someone's brain, the feedback I was just getting is my fitness was fine. My promo was entertaining because of the accent. And the only feedback I got at the time was I think I went over the time that was given in my match, which is a big no-no in pro wrestling. Yeah, I think we only went over by 15 seconds, but the lessons I've learned is, especially on big productions like that, going over your time can cost thousands of pounds to millions if it's an advertisement slot or something that you've missed. So I've learned from that. If anything, I always go under now. So that was good. And yeah, I think because I've been coached by the likes of Marty and Johnny Saint and Dave Taylor, my basics were solid enough. I just didn't have the right look or the right fit for the day, which I've accepted that happens in TV, in wrestling. I saw it at Gladiators. There was probably 5 guys who were at the same tryout as me that if you were to ask me, who would you rather pick, me or them, I'd have picked them because they had an amazing look. But I don't know what the producers were looking for. They looked at me and said, we want that guy. So you never know what they want. He's got right place, right time. Yeah,
and I would love to see you on WWE. You'd be a great part of their roster. You'd be a great exception for their roster. So would you ever, Darren White said us, would you ever consider going to a WWE again?
I think, I would absolutely love that. Unfinished business. Knowing what I know about myself, if I'd have done it 10 years ago, unfortunately, I don't think I'd have taken full advantage. I'd have gone on there. Maybe I'd have been too shy. I'd have tried to be Mr. Nice Guy. If I was to go on now, I'd be a whole different beast. The Wesley Nserako, now, I would go in there all guns blazing, not afraid to do what I need to do to entertain the crowd. So it would be fun to get on there now. Oh, to see the look on people's faces as well. People who've supported me through this independent. I've spoke to hundreds of kids over the last year and a half. Gladiator fans, WWE fans, and they all say the same thing, that they'd love to see me on the biggest stage, and that gives me that confidence that if I ever get the opportunity, wow, I'm going to grab it with both hands.
And it's something different as well. There's not been many Ugandan people on WWE, so as you already have, but if you go to the big stage, you'd inspire lots of kids from Uganda to just achieve their dreams, and that would be amazing that you already have done. Yeah,
when I sit and think about it, if the pro wrestling world, if anyone's listening to this over there, whether it be TNA, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, the fact that there was a wrestler on the WWF called Kamala, the Ugandan giant, the Ugandan warrior, the fact that soft ground wrestling has developed enough of a buzz that it's got Cody Rhodes' attention. The fact that we've had this moment in wrestling with like Kofi Mania being in Ghana, like the fact I'd been on Gladiators now and I've clearly developed a rapport with the crowd. I just from the outside looking in, it just feels stupid. Like, how is Wesley Nserako not got a sniff, or at least I know that they were at Sheffield Arena recently, and I was reaching out to various producers of Gladiators and the odd trying to reach out to people saying like, look, like here I am, ready to be used. I can fit any role. Let's go. I've been training for 12, 13 years for this moment. I've proved that I don't let people down when it's go time. Like, again, I've just not been in the right place at the right time. I've not made the right noises. I've not, kissed up to the right people. But at least I've been Wesley through and through over the last 14 years. That's all I can ask.
Yeah, and obviously you have such a busy time schedule, and we're coming to the end of the show. I just want to thank you very much for coming on the show. I've just got one last question for you. What is next for the Ugandan warrior, Wesley Nserako?
Let's go. Boom. At the minute, I'm just enjoying my wrestling. I've got a few personal goals of mine. So I've got the High Rocks coming up, which is the latest fitness like craze. I just want to do that just because to say I've done it. I want to obviously wrestle abroad, so I'm looking at a few options. I've got a few interesting things lined up, which potentially could make that become a reality. And then I've got an ultra marathon in June, which might parlay into more ultra marathons, so my long distance endurance. And then the one thing with me, I just want to continue having the most entertaining, fun matches on the wrestling scene. So if you come to a show, I'll probably speak to you afterwards at the merch table, at the meet and greets. You can all tell I'm having the time of my life. So if you just want to come out and have some fun with me, make sure you pop along to a show I'm at.
Yeah, well, Wesley, it's been so fascinating having you on. Make sure to follow Wesley on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. The socials are there below you. So thanks so much for coming
thanks,
on.
guys. Yeah.
Wish you all the best in your professional wrestling
thank you
career.
for having me.
Thank you very much for coming on.
You too, buddy. No worries.
Well, that was great having the Ugandan warrior Wesley Nserako on. So fascinating. He's a true trailblazer for the Ugandan people getting into wrestling. And what is up next on Kayfabe with Keaton? We have coming on. Let's see if the graphic comes up here. The Street Fighter Jordan Sweet, the owner of Stay True Pro Wrestling, who's a two-time Stay True champion and has run Stay True for years. Won championships over in the UK. Very experienced wrestler. It'll be great to have him coming on as well. But as for this show, this has been absolutely amazing. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one for Jordan Sweet. Thank you all for watching.